We're now joined by Communication Workers Union General Secretary Aubrey Tshabalala, and he joins us via our video link. Aubrey, thank you so much for joining us here on the late edition today. Of course, maybe let's start off here and get your reaction when it comes, to this Postbank saga, and where, a number of grant beneficiaries have not been able, to get their Sassa grant payments. We understand that's over at least 600,000 people who were affected.
Well, thank you very much, and good evening to our viewers at home. We are shocked by the resignation of the board members that we've seen a letter which contains some very serious allegations against the minister. And counter to that, today we had the minister also dissolving the board, making counter allegations as well against the board. But at the center of this is that those who are at the receiving end are the poor and the downtrodden, those who are beneficiaries of grants, who continue to suffer, because our view is that these technical glitches, it might be a situation at this instance, but it's been historically, it's been happening over the number of years up until to this point in time, and there seems to be no a solution over the horizon around how these issues are dealt with. So it concerns us a great deal, and the Postbank without a board, that is instability on its own, and which means that we have to now go forward and say, how swift can we move to appoint a new board? But the allegations that have been put in, I must emphasize that they should be followed through.
Yeah, and I wanted us to actually come to the heart of the story. And you speak of these allegations. I mean, we heard there from the minister when he dismissed, the Postbank board, saying that they are using service providers who are not contracted by Postbank. What do you make of, those reports coming out from KPMG saying that they were using service providers who are not even contracted to Postbank?
These are worrisome news. For a mere fact is that when did this report come about, and when did the minister receive this report? Did the Postbank board, before they resigned, they knew about these reports? As they resigned, they anticipated that the minister will be dissolving the board. So all these questions comes to mind, taking into account the seriousness. You cannot ignore the point that has been raised in the letter that says that there is interference, undermining, and overruling of the board in terms of its process. So that as well is serious. And all of these things, hence we are saying these are state-owned entities. This is public funds. And we have to make sure that everything that has been raised is followed through. But over and above, there is a pending application of the commercial license for banking for Postbank. These outcomes or these developments might as well be, impaired to that process.
And one would also ask, when it comes to this Postbank saga, we've now seen at least 3 resignations coming through. What does this say about holding those who are at the helm, to be accountable for their actions?
Absolutely. Hence my first statement, I've said that when did the minister knew about the reports from KPMG? That's the first point. Because he only pronounced that after the resignation of the 3 board members. Was that known before? And the board members are only reacting in order to save face, or it's vice versa. So hence, when we are calling for a thorough investigation on both sides, because once we close our eyes and say the minister is correct, we might be missing some other critical parts here, because they've even stated that they've been writing correspondence to the minister, they've put the dates there, and there was no response. We cannot throw a blind eye to that, because the minister, even to ourselves as a union, has not responded to a number of correspondences. So it becomes synonymous. So those are the areas that we are concerned of, and we are concerned because in the instability of Postbank has a significant impact the poor and the workers.
And I was coming to exactly that. I mean, Postbank was delivering a service, to the most vulnerable in our society. I mean, these are the elderly people who were affected, those who receive a disability grant, and some of the children who rely on this social grant. And if, we see that Postbank has done a problem of this magnitude where it was not able, to give out, the beneficiaries, or at least over 600,000 of those beneficiaries. What does it say about their capabilities of actually being a bank? Because, I mean, this is surely quite concerning if, there are calls for it to actually be turned into a fully functioning bank.
This thing worries us. If you look at the number of the branches that have been closed, both at the Postbank and the post office, where people used to go as the area of their pay points, and now have to travel, longer distance to get their grants payments, which means that the poor has to dig more into their pocket just to get that grant. And now it's going to the transport. And with all of this happening, addition to that is that they arrive at these pay points, there's no payment because of these technical glitches and so forth. It reflects directly on the capacity and the purely incompetence of the management, including the board that is leaving. And these are serious areas of concerns that must be looked into. But it should not be used as a platform to completely call for the collapse of the state-owned entity, because it plays a significant role to protect those who don't have anything in terms of the interest payments and so on. So we are very cautious about that, because it can be as well as an opportunity for those who are calling for privatization of everything else to come in and say Postbank must be closed.
At the same time, some of those board members who resigned are also saying that, the communications minister is interfering with the processes of, Postbank. Should we put the blame on the minister, for some of these recipients not receiving their Sassa grants?
It will be premature for us to put a blame to anyone at this point in time. What we know is that there is incompetent delivery of services from the management side, and as a whole, the entire entity. So to say who's wrong at this point in time, without what we are saying, there should be investigation. It will be premature. But also, the board is saying that, but on their letter themselves, they've written a number of dates where they want a minister to come in and intervene. But at the same time, they are complaining about the interference. So it's important that we go deeper into this matter and really do sub-analysis as to say, what is it that has happened? Because if we don't do that, we might find ourselves falling into the same trap again.
Yeah, and as the CWU, Aubrey, what would you like to see? Because now we know that the hunt now begins for a new board, and to provide some sort of stability so that, they can ensure that Sassa grant recipients receive their social grants.
Well, we are happy to hear that the minister spoke about fast-tracking the issue of appointing the board members, which is what we are going to call for. But we want to see the men and women of integrity, not some political deployment into this position, so that we can be able to have an institution that will go forward and deliver those necessary services. We want to see Postbank growing so that it can also be able to deliver other services, particularly to the poor, and create that stability. So the swift movement to appoint a new board, it's our position as CWU to say it should happen.
Aubrey, thank you so much for your time here on SABC News. That is Aubrey Tshabalala. He is the Communication Workers Union's General Secretary, just giving us his insights there when it comes to the problems surrounding Postbank and the beneficiaries for the Sassa grants.